SME Market Hub. Buy, sell, list, connect.
If you look at the title African Metropolis, it's really the metropolis and Africa. So Metropolis, of course, megacity, big city, where there are many big cities in Africa, and how are they represented? This main project, or main goal was actually of this project, it was about representing modern voices of Africa.
Boss, setia Z. Okay, run.
Well, if the rough synopsis of each film, it's if you look at Nairobi, it's in a way it's a science fiction love story. The director wants to portray some kind of a love story that he might wanted to have with somebody he's portraying, but it doesn't happen. So, and he has some weird ideas about how this future could look like. The Cairo story is, it's a little kind of it's a very social story in a way. It deals with little drug dealers and people who own money to people. So the little gangster. It's a semi-gangster movie, but it's a very interesting movie in a way that because it portrays very like a hidden society as well.
Basically, it's what you will do for a loved one, the heights you would reach for a loved one, the steps you would take to save a loved one's life. And I think it's something that happens to virtually everybody in this country. We have situations where we have to do things that may be dangerous to ourselves just to save somebody we love.
The Dakar story, which is as well a love story in a way between two women and then in the traditional society. The Abidjan story deals with an artist's portrait of Jean-Michel Basquiat and how he feels like coming back to Africa. So this story between the diaspora and the African tradition, cultural. It's a new interpretation, of course. Then the last one was the Johannesburg movie, where we discussed this idea of loneliness and being in a big city without having like a really big anchorage within this city from an old man's perspective.
I've got wrong house. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Each of these cities had their own representation. There are many more representation possible, of course, but each filmmaker chose to have this specific topic to talk about his city, and I think it worked in a way. It worked quite well.
The first step I would say is we had to travel. All the filmmakers had to travel. We had to converge at Durban in South Africa. That was 2012, and everybody actually came with a different story. In reality, what you see is not what it is, and we had different steps. We had to work with our script editor to make sure the story fits into what the African Metropolis theme was about. So yes, a lot of things were changed. In fact, actually my story, apart from my story being cut, it was changed. Because the reason was, and this is me being very truthful, my story was a bit too, let me say, futuristic sort of, than a short film. And we were trying to make a short film. So we had to look for that story that would work for the short film idea that we were going for. I think the sexual theme in my film is like a subtext, because if you want to be real, we can say that we're really not lining up for anything sexual. It could have just been something ritualistic or something else that they were looking for.
Well, for one, this film has traveled through various festivals around the world, more than I can even remember myself. It has engaged, people. Every audience has always been like the audience here today. They watch it, they ask questions about the various metropolis represented.
Technically, the movies are not, but my appreciation of the movies is beyond the technique. I think it's, like I always say, that cinema is not really a pictorial medium. in essence, cinema is a dramatic medium, so I always approach film from the point of view of the narrative and not necessarily from how technically accomplished the director or the cinematographer is. Like the first film, the one from Nairobi, Homecoming, I think oftentimes you have emerging filmmakers and they fall into this trap of playing this game with their camera. Oh, see how clever I am, see what I can do with the camera, see what I can come up with. I think it's the danger which newer filmmakers fall into.
My favorite film, I don't know if I have a favorite film, but I think there are two films which I really like in the collection, and those are Beria and Homecoming. I like Beria because, not exactly for the film itself, but maybe because of the backstory to it, because from what I know, Beria used to be an all-white community when South Africa was under apartheid. So the story of the old man was kind of like the society changed, he didn't move, yes, so he now ended up living in the midst of black people. Most of the directors working on this project were actually young directors, which is a good thing, so it shows that there's not exactly a new generation, but there's a new set of people interested in African cinema and in improving African cinema. So I would say this collection definitely contributes towards that.
Yes, the funding, basically you have most of these films funded by outsiders. This was funded by Hubert Bouw's fund, which is a fund for artists basically set up in the Netherlands, as well as Goethe Institute, which is a German cultural organization. Yes, here we have GT Bank, which has particularly, I think, been involved, at least in Nigeria, which is what I can speak about, in the arts, at least in the entertainment sector. So I think that's like a basic difference in the sense that you have a Nigerian, or at least an African brand that has put his money in this project. So I think that's like something unique. That's like outside of the film.
If GT Bank is interested, of course, there would be some kind of follow-up. We locally want to continue presenting as well these kind of films. This is something that we want to show and showcase here as well. Producing films, there are many people who can produce films, but then screening these films in international festivals or in local festivals, or giving at least a little exposure. This is what we can do from our side. And this is what we want to continue as well, presenting the filmmakers, giving them the possibility to interact as well with the audience. Because, of course, it's one thing for an artist to do your own work, and this is what you want to do in your life. But the other thing is to react with the audience, to present it to your audience. And this is what we can do here locally, and this is why we want to continue with this kind of screenings as well.
Hi, I'm Onos, and if you did enjoy that video, which I know you did, you better subscribe to our channel and you can watch more videos too.